Tony Dunn, and not to it but to do it, brother. Let's roll.
In a world where Carolina Panthers fans have an insatiable thirst for Panthers news and opinions, only one podcast roars ferociously. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast.
Take a seat in familiar place, Panther fans, as you take a seat on the couch for a C3 therapy show, as the Carolina Panthers have fallen to 0-2 in the preseason, and it's hard for us. It's so hard for us to simply stay calm, simply to not panic. How do we?
Just relax, stay calm, don't panic.
I'm not sure at this point if I'm ready to press the panic button, folks, but there are a lot of things to talk about, and many of them are unpleasant. It's the C3 Panthers Post Game show. The Carolina Panthers fall to the New York. They've lost to both New York teams now, and really have let up something like 48 points through the first 6 quarters of preseason football, and they only scored 3 points in those 6 quarters as well. My name's Tony Dunn. It's the C3 Panthers Post Game show, and I'm always here with my best buds, Cody Lashney, my wheel man. Not the best of terms here. I got to say that I don't know what's more stressful, the Panthers start to the 2023 preseason or a Friday free-for-all.
Oh, dude, it's a Friday free-for-all, hands down, bro. I've been doing it every Friday for 113 Fridays now.
Wow.
Yeah, that's right. I've been keeping track. But listen, man, it started out rough. It started to get a little better. Some players started to turn it on. But I'm going to be real with you. Ike Ekwonu, your time is ticking, partner. Just like Greg has his hills that he's dying on. I'm just saying, bro, I've been the originator of this idea that maybe Brady Christensen and Ike Ekwonu need to switch positions. But hey, don't jump on my back just yet. It's a long season. It's only preseason. And Tony Dunn, right now we're being joined by the best damn Panther fans in all of YouTube, damn it. Our guys Drew, Anthony, Diane Breed, Eugene Sutherland, Josh, KT, Lance Kubiak, Lawrence Trevette, Leo Factor 1, Muscles Marinara Paisan, what's up, brother? New Daddy-O, Roosevelt Mongo, Supreme Lita Z, Tim Stallings, and that boy White Chocolate Espresso. Tony Dunn, it's a post-game show. Ain't nothing to it but to do it, brother. Let's roll.
The number's 252-228-5098. That's 252-228-5098. We're going to take some calls tonight. We're going to go and see how the night takes us. We just did 3 hours on the post-game show, and it was a lot of Friday freeze-all. Yeah, now we're on the – so we're going to this might not be the most extensive post-game show in the history of the C3 Panthers podcast, but we're here for you guys, the fans. Smash the thumbs up button, subscribe. We're just one of you. Hop on the couch. Tell us how concerned you are. I want to hear what you think. When is it time to panic? Are you panicked? Is this just a preseason? And how do the Carolina Panthers get better? That's really what we need to be starting to focus on. What can this team do to get better? CK, the voice that makes a voice. Good to be back with you. Not the most happiest of terms as a Carolina Panther fan, but it's always fun to hang out with the fellas.
Yeah, no, listen, and I understand the need to be optimistic. I'm a big fan of that approach, and many people are saying just chill out. It's the preseason. My only concern right now is our team looks bad, and they are going to be bad until they aren't. That's just the reality of it, right? We're not saying press the panic button, let's hop off of the Panthers train and get off on the next stop. But it's okay to say what we've seen from this team has been bad, worse than every other team from what we can tell. Like every team in the NFL, if you look at highlights, until the last half of this game. Like, it's been positives all the way around, right? Some things to improve on, but it just felt like this team was the worst of the bunch. So until we aren't bad, we are. You got to accept that, and then just hope that they change it before the season begins, or at least before it gets too far into the season.
Every super villain seems to be a fallen superhero. Greg has become the villain of the C3 Panthers podcast. Greg, we're 0-2. CK's right. We're bad. The team's bad.
You're absolutely right. And I'll go ahead and tell you right now, villains are not wrong. The best villains in the world are not wrong. They just go about things the wrong way, like how to get there the wrong way. But they're not wrong in what they're saying. And I'll say this to everybody.
Spoken like a true villain.
Huh?
Spoken like a true villain.
Exactly. You're not wrong. You're just wrong about the way you're going about things. And I'll say this to everybody who doubts me, because I have a huge following of people that agree with me.
That's what I do. I drink and I know things.
That's all I'm saying. I drink
That's
and I know
what he
things.
does.
Yeah.
That's what he does. All right. Let's jump into the show. I am going to give a shout out to our sponsors, because we need you to help our sponsors. Go to calderalab.com/C3 twice a day. Facial treatment for men. Men, care about yourselves. Look, it really made my skin a lot better. That's a free ad read. But look, if you want us to get us bigger as a podcast, if you want to find something to be happy about more than the Carolina Panthers, we got to get this podcast popping, folks. We need your help. Smash the thumbs, subscribe, call in at 252-228, hit the share, and get in those comments, folks. Maybe even get your skin looking good and looking young, because right now I got some wrinkles after this game. I'm going to have to put that serum on, Cody. Cody, I'm going to start off with this question. What's wrong with the Panthers?
Right now, what's wrong with the Panthers is a lot of vanilla play calling from offense and defense. I believe on offense, the offensive line is still questionable, man. It still looks a little suspect. We're not creating dependable holes running the football. Run blocking continues to be an issue for this offensive line. And when it comes to pass protection, look, we'll get into the long-term left tackle discussion at some point, and especially over the course of the season. But, I mean, I'm just being honest. Ikem Ekwonu, through 2 weeks, has looked like the worst member of our offensive line. Last year, we were hard on Taylor Moton, and Taylor Moton has looked better than Ikem Ekwonu thus far. Now, if you want to say, Cody, it's preseason, it's just preseason, calm down, that's fine. You're allowed to think that, because I've been telling that to Greg when he issues these statements about Bryce. But we can also just look at the tape and see that Ikem Ekwonu right now is struggling with a lot of positioning things when it comes to the left tackle position. Our offensive line, our receivers to this point have not looked incredibly potent. They've had some okay plays, but for the most part, not a whole lot to write home about. And my last statement is that defense, I feel like short distances, we're okay. And deep down the field, we're not bad either. But that intermediate section, right where the linebackers roam, there's a lot of coverage issues. And I feel like the Jets and the Giants have exploited us in that area of the field. So we saw some progress, better than last week, but still not right where we want to be.
What's that, CK?
Do you want to play the press conference?
Yeah, are they on right now?
Yeah, they're on now.
I'll do it.
Okay, let's bring it up. As we bring that up, Greg,
we got to go to the beginning of when he comes on the podium, because he's
time limit here without saying. Okay, I guess they already got it. So
Consistency of that physical play, and then
I still want that question. Whatever you're going to ask
for 60 minutes. We got to clean up some penalties, but other than that, we'll get the execution cleaned up on the tape.
Oh, that's not a good face.
No, he's been down all week.
Big discussion was pass blocking. It seemed like the running game really struggled today. What did you take away from the sideline?
I thought it was a mixed bag. Look down, we're averaging 2.8 a carry, like Mike, like you're saying. There was Sometimes we're struggling running it. And
What
then
are you
at
averaging passing?
the same time, we're gashing runs. Nice. So we'll go back.
He wasn't asked about that. He was asked about the running game.
No, but he mentioned.
I thought there were some good things. I thought
children.
We'll get a further evaluation with the tape.
Mark McCall didn't play, and we've obviously seen him in a big role before. What was the reason there?
That he
didn't play.
Marquand McCall? Yeah. He did play. Yeah. Yeah. No, all good.
Oh, who's wrong here?
Plan for Blackshear to enter the game in the second half. I thought we might see a little bit more of him in the first half, or was that just part of the game plan to see Spencer Brown a little bit more?
Yeah, it's just a rotate. I just kind of leave that with Deuce to kind of rotate those guys. Give them all an opportunity with, at different times in the game.
Frank, what can you gauge about that defense without Brian, Justin, Derek out there at all?
Obviously those are three good players that we didn't play, but there's still a lot of good things that we can look at. Obviously, they had a couple nice drives. Obviously that's a good football team, right? That's a good football team. So we'll learn from it. We still evaluate a lot of the individual play. Look forward to getting all of our guys out there, but still, we're responsible, right? That happens during the season. You lose guys for a series, a game, or something like that. So we got to figure out ways to play winning football, even when our star players aren't in there.
That first drive that Jones put together against your starters, what did you see there, and kind of was there a common thread from that to last week against the Jets?
I just thought, they executed on a very high level on that first drive. I mean, it was a good play calling, good execution. I thought Jones looked sharp. I thought they kept us on our heels a little bit. So it was a good first drive by them.
Frank, a lot was made of just the vanilla play calling in the first game, the by plan to a degree. What you think of the play calling this game?
Yeah, I thought it was better. I thought, we did a little bit more. We still didn't do a ton, but we did some more. We did some more stuff. We had a few plays, had an opportunity for a few more. I thought Thomas did a great job calling the second half, happy with his development there. He's really sharp guy now. He's super sharp, and, thought he did a great job in the second half when he had an opportunity.
In the interest of me not assuming, the goal, I assume, was to be vanilla again, like just because it's preseason?
No, I wouldn't say we were that. I mean, that didn't feel like that to me. Like I said, did we do everything that we do? No. There's a lot more that we can do, but we did a couple things that, we did a couple things in this game that we didn't do the first game.
Thoughts on Bryce?
I thought Bryce looked sharp, put together a nice drive, would have liked to have us finish it off. Obviously unhappy with the number of penalties we had. I don't know what the total number was. Yeah, 8, too many penalties. But I thought Bryce looked sharp. I think he wanted to throw the ball more, I think he came off wanted to throw a little bit more, but I thought he looked sharp.
There was one play where they blitzed and he picked it up and hit Mingo for 15. Is that just a good read?
Yeah, it was a good read. And I think he was seeing it really well. They did blitz a few times. I think, we'll see the film, but I think we made the right protection call every time. I just felt like he was comfortable and poised in the pocket and seeing what he was supposed to see.
There was one play where Thibodeau got by Nicky and hit the quarterback. Was that miscoverage or miscommunication, or fine?
Yeah, I have to go back and look at it. I see that flash in my mind, but I don't remember it verbatim.
Chandler's all finally got some time today. How'd you feel he played today?
Yeah, I'm excited to look at the tape. He had a good week of practice. Obviously, I wasn't zoning in on him one-on-one, during the game. But, I thought up front, our protection was better besides the one that you were talking about. I thought our protection at times was pretty good.
Frank, Raekwon Williams and LeBron and Ray are two guys we haven't really talked about. They got a lot of playing time in this one and had some plays. What did you see from them?
Yeah, I think we like them. They've kind of come in recently, Mike, like you said, and, have made a good impression. And so, we'll look at the tape, grade this out, but they've made a good impression since they've been here. They have another, we all have another week to kind of prove, have a chance to make this roster.
You challenged Sam Franklin at the beginning of camp to kind of step up. How's the progression gone?
Sam's been a pro, really happy with the way he's playing, approach in practice. Just showing good leadership. And then when he gets out there and he's playing on defense, making plays, making us feel his presence out there. So very happy with Sam this whole training camp.
We'll do two more questions. Just looking forward, will Bryce play game 3, and will any other big names will or will not play?
I'm not going to say anything 100% sure. Right now, the plan is for everybody to get ready to play. And the plan's for everybody to get ready to play. We'll see how we come out of this game injury-wise. We'll talk about it as a coaching staff, and see what do we need to accomplish. If I feel like we need to accomplish something as a coaching staff, if we feel like there's things we need to accomplish in one more preseason game, then we'll play the guys that need to be in there for that. If I feel like we're ready, then we won't play those guys. Okay, thank you.
All right, that is Frank Reich, head coach for the Carolina Panthers after we don't need to get rid of this guy. Let's go, whoever that guy is. Head coach for the Carolina Panthers, new head coach, addressing the media after the second preseason loss. As we look to Frank right away, the demeanor is unhappy, right? I like that he is, not panicking and listening to us in a sense. I wonder how his PR, if he has a PR agent.
Hey, do you want to hear Bryce?
Yes, I do. I want you guys to think about this is if you're Frank Reich, are you trying to frame this narrative going forward? Here's Bryce Young, Panthers rookie quarterback.
It's a huge goal for us as an offense. But, it feels good. But, I think, again, it's just a day-by-day approach. Watching the film, I feel like there's always room for improvement, always stuff I'm trying to grow in day by day. So I think, the more reps, the more experience, especially when you get to go up against another team in a game environment, those are kind of, that's a valuable experience for me, especially at this stage. So definitely grateful for it. A lot I want to improve on and get better at, but I'm going to keep taking it day by day.
You've thrown 6 passes in each game. That's obviously not a huge sample size. How have you been able to kind of create momentum and chemistry within a live game setting during those reps?
Yeah, like you said, it's a limited opportunities, but you got to make those count. And I think just listening to coaches stressing urgency of every situation, every down. Again, you get a limited amount of reps in the preseason, but you have to make them count. And because of that, there's a lot of emphasis, a lot of strain to be the best we can. And we understand again. We trying to be perfect, and you're never going to get there. And we understand at the end of the day, like you said, it's been a limited amount of passes, but we try to treat those passes like it's the last one we're going to get. Especially in the preseason, since it's so limited. So just kind of having that sense of urgency is something that we're really trying to stress.
Where do you feel like you took your largest leap between last week to this week?
Yeah, I think just communication-wise as a unit, we did a couple of different things communication-wise, and I think for the most part we handled that well. And that's not just me. That's with Bose and the entire O-line, and then with the receivers, running backs too, just making sure we're on the same page. And I think again operationally we added a couple of things, and I think there's always room for improvement, but I think we handled that well. So I think that's definitely one positive.
There was one play on the 15-yard pass to Mingo where it looked like you read the blitz very well.
Yeah, that's just credit to the coaches preparing us. We were kind of in the in between type of week. It wasn't a game plan week. We still ran stuff that was training camp stuff for us, but we watched a little stuff, going up against a defense coordinator like Wink. Obviously, you want to go in there a little prepared. So we were kind of in the middle, but still, even with that, coach is doing a great job of talking through some things these last couple of days, us getting the same page for that. So, just leaning on the coaches for that.
He said not a lot of preparation,
go after that first
specific preparation.
And what happened on that front?
Just miscommunication. I'm different. I was in a different spot than, the pocket where you're assuming when, you're a receiver, you're a receiver, your eyes, they turn you, they think the ball is coming from the pocket. And, we're just trying to get on the same page. And, really it's kind of one of those weird things. I don't know how it looks on camera or whatever, but, it's, people don't probably think about that as a receiver. When you look back and your back, you assume someone's in the pocket, and when they're not, it can take a second to try to find the ball. So I think it was just one of those. Again, it might look different on camera. It may look, but it's just one of those scenarios. It happens.
Do you feel like you're ready for the regular season, or do you want to play in that third preseason game?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna trust the coaches. Whatever, honestly, I don't really know how the whole, I don't know what the procedure is. And again, I know coaches are different. So, I wholeheartedly trust the coaches and whatever their decision is. We haven't talked about or discussed anything, but whatever Coach Reich wants me to do and thinks is going to be best for me and for the team, that's what I'm going to do.
Bryce.
Appreciate you guys.
All right, that's Bryce Young, the Panthers rookie quarterback after his second preseason performance, and the team has not been good at this moment. I will commend, and I know, look, I will mute you, Greg, if you could jump in too quick on this. He says that's the answers you say, right? I wish he would have said a touchdown answer. No, is Bryce Young. Even he was asked a couple of things. He was asked about the Mango moments where he and he was able to deflect, I think, any negativity away from Mango, right? Like you didn't even hear his. 2023 wasn't a good year for the Carolina Panthers, but I'm trying to make 2024 a better one for myself. Get started on your resolutions with Factor so you're ready for the new year. Factor's ready-to-eat meal delivery takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success in the new year. Skip the grocery stores, prep work, and cooking fatigue. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. With over 35 meals to choose from per week, including keto options, calorie smart, vegan plus veggie, and more, plus over 55 weekly add-ons, you'll have a ton of nutritious and flavorful options to kickstart your resolutions. Skip that overpriced takeout trap. Factor is cheaper and way more delicious than takeout. Get chef-crafted, restaurant-quality meals delivered right to your door, and they're ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes, which means more time for you. Head to factormeals.com/C350 and use the promo code C350 to get 50% off. That's code C350 at factormeals.com/C350 to get 50% off.
Doctors take Field of Greens for their own health. Here's Dr. Ryan Green to explain.
We're like you, too much fast food and not enough exercise. That's why I take Field of Greens. The fruits and vegetables in Field of Greens support my heart, lungs, kidneys, and metabolism for weight loss. And Field of Greens promises your doctor will notice your improved health or your money back.
Get 15% off with promo code HEALTH at fieldofgreens.com. That's promo code HEALTH at fieldofgreens.com. Product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
And now another no-brainer money-saving tip from Progressive.
Marcus, what happened?
I was changing my oil and I spilled some on the floor.
Oh, well, use these $50 bills to wipe it up.
Perfect. Got any more?
Yeah, take a couple hundred.
Stop. Instead of using money, use an old rag. And here's a better tip from Progressive on how not to waste money. Don't pay too much for car insurance. Drivers who switch and save could save hundreds. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
Name, and I assume they're talking about the play where Mingo held up, right? He didn't even say it was a miscommunication. So that was like, he's looking out for his boys there. He talked about the coaching. We'll start with that as the Carolina Panthers through 2 games, we have been talking about how they assembled a super squad of coaches this offseason. And right now, as that super squad of coaches has prepared this team, they have not been up to the challenge. How much of this falls on the coaches? And you don't even have to make maybe that's too direct of a question. Your thoughts on the Panthers' new coaching staff for Carolina and how they've prepped the team so far. Let's start with CK.
It doesn't look like they come out there prepared. It feels as though last week it's okay to chalk up what we saw to first game of the season, first time in the system together, first time actually having real contact like this. Like, that's the first time. To have that happen again the second week, granted there was some progress made, it wasn't enough to make you feel like these guys took a step, right? You still see a lot of the same issues, and and from players that are supposed to be your star protectors or your star players on the team, right? I don't know that I see the preparation. I really don't. Like, I can't visibly see anything.
Cody, we've been excited about an offensive staff taking over for the Carolina Panthers. We've been excited about the potential of this team offensively in so many ways. And we've also heard that Frank Reich, as he said, I plan on calling the plays and having Thomas Brown, ease him in over, I guess, his career at Carolina. And then Frank Reich has called the plays in the first half of both games. And as Jay Thomas in the chat says, the play calling, he says, in the second half was 1,000% better. As we talk about the coaches and we're hitting a panic button, at what point does Frank Reich step back and say the play calling, Thomas Brown is going to take it over? Who did that? Was that, didn't the guy from Philly do that?
Well, I'm not sure, but to kind of go and compare against what CK just said, we literally just listened to Bryce Young. Dude, nothing comforted me more than what Bryce Young literally just said to everyone that's been listening just now. They didn't even prepare for the Giants defense. He said they ran mostly training camp stuff. So it's like you're crazy to think that anything this offense has done with the starters, play calling wise, is going to look anything remotely like what we're going to do week 1 against Atlanta. Now, I said earlier, them deciding to do it that way puts very high expectations on that week 1 performance and what they do against Atlanta. But you're not going to tell me that our coaches aren't going to have specific game plans for the defenses that they're going to be facing Sunday in and Sunday out. That made me feel a little more comfortable. I'm more willing to pump the brakes a little bit. But yes, I will grant you, Thomas Brown's offensive play calling to this moment does look a little bit more dynamic than what Frank Reich is doing. And there's a reason why Sean McVay over there in Los Angeles did not want to lose Thomas Brown as a coach in that organization.
Greg, without saying the words Bryce Young, what's wrong with this Panthers team?
Over expectations of what we wanted. I think that we sold ourselves in something that we haven't been proven yet, to be truly honest with you. You guys, I don't know, I may misquote you here. Did you guys just say that our play calling this whole game was 1,000 times better than last game?
No, they said look, so the point that
that's why I'm asking. I'll make sure I get it right.
Yeah, is here to clarify what's going on is that for the last the two games, at least in the first game, and we assume that's what happened in this game as well. Frank Reich called the plays in the first half, and in the second half, Thomas Brown called the plays. And people are looking to both weeks, the play calling being more appropriate in those situations. Now, I don't think that Frank Reich and the play calling has been poor. So like this is, and I want to talk a little bit about that preparation and if that is the proper preparation. I want to also give the listeners a little context for why I put the handcuffs on Greg about Bryce Young. And it has nothing to do with Bryce Young's play. It has nothing to do with Bryce. But if people are jumping in this conversation right now and they heard me say, without saying Bryce Young, tell me what's wrong with this team, they would, and I would say, I would infer that means that Bryce Young has been part of the real problem with this. But guys, we just had a 3-hour fight on the internet, and Greg has got his G-Baby crocodile armor on.
And I just will not
listen to him talk about Bryce Young at this moment. That's all I'm saying is I just will not have that be part of this discussion. What is wrong? And we will talk about Bryce. Don't worry. It's not like it's that. But what's wrong with this team?
I think that we over expected what we were going to have this year based on the personnel we put on the field, not just Bryce Young, but all the personnel we put on the field. I think that we're getting punched in the mouth because once again, what I say all the time that people call me a fucking narcissist or whatever for, I don't give a shit for, is that I know you didn't say it, but is that you don't play in the preseason and in training camp like you do in the regular season. So if you think that what you're getting in the preseason and training camp is what you're going to get in the regular season. You're going to get punched in the fucking mouth. And we're getting punched in the mouth in the preseason, which means we way under expected what this league was really like. We way over anticipated what our team talent was.
What did we?
Well, how about the fact that we've given up almost 30 points a game for the last 2 games? How about the fact that we put up 6 points in the last 2 weeks? Like, we way overestimated our talent and way underestimated what the guys we were playing would be. That's our big issue right now.
Not only is not all of our defensive starters playing, but the fact that you refuse to take into account that the play calling and how we are calling the offense, but by admittance of Bryce Young and Frank Reich and Thomas Brown, out of 3 men's mouth, they have said that this is not the play calling that they're going to have week one. That they are holding it so that way Atlanta and New Orleans can take nothing away from what we're doing.
Dumbest shit I've ever heard. Dumbest shit I've ever heard.
You have to factor that in to this preseason performance.
No hyperbole.
Hold on, real quick.
This is a one-for-one example of what the Panthers team is capable of doing right now.
No, real quick. That's a bullshit excuse. That is a bullshit excuse. You know why? Because 75% of everybody's offense is the exact same goddamn thing. Everything. 75% of people's defense is the exact same thing. You have about 25% of your plays on offense and defense that are different from other teams. And guess what? You think they're different, but they may be close to the same. Okay, because not everybody's the same. You can only do so many things. All right. I do not buy that for 1 second. There is no reason whatsoever you come out there and set your rookie quarterback up to look like a fucking fool.
He hasn't looked like a fool, Greg. That's an over exaggeration, Greg. It's an over exaggeration.
Do that.
It's so
it's an over exaggeration.
No, it's so
It's not an over exaggeration. You're telling me that a halfback dive is not in 75%.
You can't say a fool. No, you can't say that. You just can't say that. It's impossible to say. He hasn't thrown an interception. He's had a positive passing percentage, and he hasn't looked overwhelmed as a rookie. So you can't. But you don't have to say. You don't have to be on his side, Greg. That's not what I'm saying. But to say that is factually incorrect. So I will say this is going back.
It's not
to,
factually
it
incorrect.
is.
What did I say that wasn't factually correct?
You said
he
looked like a fool.
He's thrown for less. He's thrown for
he has
just a little over 50 yards in 2 games.
All on him.
A little over 50 yards.
I don't care. He has not looked bad. I watch football.
Why would you set your quarterback up to do that then?
No, this is where I want to talk about this.
If you have a quarterback that throws for less than 50 yards in 2 games, you look like a fool.
No,
why would
he
you
doesn't look like a fool. But I want
the same thing either.
I'm not going to get into this. I will tell you this: is I want to talk about that play calling and the coaching. To me, the play calling is a non-issue for me. It's not even an excuse. It's not a defense. It's nothing. I don't care if we're game planning, not game planning. We should look the team individually, player for player, position group by position group against the opponent has not looked good. And while Frank Reich came out and said, look, and I think it is the right thing. You should not be preparing for the Giants. You should be preparing for yourselves in a way, because if you did allocate your time preparing for the Giants, you're preparing to win a meaningless game. Instead, you need to be preparing to develop the players you have on your team throughout the week. The problem is, and it's not even in the realm of the quarterback position, the problems on this team right now are systemic at the very least, or at least through 2 games they have been. Now, I don't want to say, what about the future? What about this? What about this? I want to talk about what we have seen from the Carolina Panthers to this point. And right now, I think there are some real concerns on an overall global level. Is like just this is I don't need the Panthers to go 2-0. I don't need the Panthers to win a preseason game. I don't need them to do anything. What I haven't seen them do is do much that or anything that's been impressive. Cody, how do the Carolina Panthers improve?
You have to run the football better. It's that simple. Keep it simple, stupid. Run the football better. They even asked Frank Reich during his press conference, with the lack of rushing attack, what does he attribute that to? He said he needs to look at the tape, which I'm not going to lie, sounds a little bit like he who shall not be named, but I'll move along. But the fact that we're not getting consistent push running the football, to me, again, that's something that's not necessarily on play calling. that's more on your boys up front. So that, to me, is a legitimate criticism right now of the offensive line. They are not getting consistent push running the football. Now, that being said, later on in the game, Raheem Blackshear really did start to turn it on and gave our team something of a boost running the football that I think that we were missing out on earlier. Again, that's also remembering there is no Miles Sanders. We only saw Chuba Hubbard. We saw a little bit of number 41, whose name escapes me right now. I'm sure Spencer Brown. They wanted to get him involved a little bit more. So again, man, to shout out Pat Coltrane, it's just camp. It's just preseason. Well, it is. We're not playing a lot of our starters. There was no Miles Sanders, but we have to be better running the football. And if you do that, then that's going to open up your downfield passing attack, which it seemed as though Bryce really wanted to do. As Brat Daddy slams him, but you know what? Bryce probably agrees more with Greg than any of the three with us. I'm sure he demands. I'm sure that but listen, but that's why I'm not down and out on him yet. I'm sure Bryce is the type of player that constantly demands more of himself, and I'm sure he wanted more of himself. However, I want to see him do that with a better offensive game plan and knowing that he's going to play one full game of Panther football before I start saying that he is not living up to our expectations.
Okay, and I get that, but two questions. One, Tony, you just said, like you literally just said, you've not seen anything impressive this offseason. So how can you possibly say that Bryce Young has proven to you that he's going to be the guy?
Well, you know
First
what?
question.
I will. Let me answer it. Let's just do
right.
one question at a time.
Yeah.
Is I would say that as someone who knows who doesn't follow college football as close as a lot of our listeners do, and a lot of people even on this panel, as well as a lot of people in the chat, I have been covering this podcast and this team and the NFL draft for almost 10 years, about 10 years now. This is my 9th draft, and I have become resilient to just going all in on players and falling in. I'm trying to not fall in love with players before. So, to be honest, I'm not an Alabama fan. I didn't watch a lot of Bryce Young. And, I had some things about, like, I didn't really try to make a lot of prejudgments, but I would tell you this as a rookie quarterback who has been undersized, comes in with that size and those questions. I think that the things I have seen from him have not been problematic. I don't feel like he's an inaccurate passer. I don't feel like he doesn't know how to run the huddle. I feel like, you know what, to be honest, I'm heartened by the direction at the quarterback position. Now, does that mean that overnight this team is going to win a Super Bowl? Not by any stretch. But right now, I am disheartened by everything not everything, but by a lot of things not named Bryce. That's what I'm saying is that I don't care about any of that. And I think that is like it's an unnecessary conversation to even have at this point. My question, or what I'm just disheartened about, is just I thought this team would be, and this is a guy who, by the way, who said I'd be okay with a 7-10 season. Like I could see a positive silver lining in a 7-10 season. And, like I wasn't the person that told you that we need to go in and be significantly above 500. I just thought this team would look better than this. And that's what I'm saying on a holistic level. I thought the real concerns would be on the def. I just don't right now have a lot of I'm not saying we're not going to win anything, but boy, this team is just getting bullied. And to me, the story is not the quarterbacks, not the wide receivers, not even the corners. It's the trenches at this point. It's like just not winning the line of scrimmage. And I don't care who you are, you cannot consistently lose the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball in the same game and win.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%. Real quick. I wanted to shout out Jay Thomas with the 499 love bomb. He says, I say by week 4, if we don't catch momentum, I'll start to panic.
And that's why I said week 4. Yep.
What week would each of you draw the line at? I'll be very quick. I have said multiple times throughout the years on this podcast that I don't believe the good teams actually separate themselves from the bunch
Yeah.
until after week 6 of the NFL season. And
So
that was before they added a game. So maybe even week 6, week 7 is if we're still looking terrible through that point in the season. Yeah, they could theoretically turn it around at that point. But if we're not seeing any progress through 6 weeks, and that would be a brutal 2.5 month run right there, or damn near 2 months. That's going to be a tough pill for everyone to swallow.
Well, let me ask my second question here. And this is a question for all the panel right here. And this, I want you to really sit down and think about this, okay? So if because I say week 4, I'm giving y'all to week 4. I need to see something from Bryce that makes me feel like he's the guy of the future between now and week 4. Okay? I don't feel like that's a short window. I feel like that's a good for drafting the number 1 quarterback, the guys we traded for him to get. I think that's a reasonable request. Week 4, I need to see something that shows me he's there. Now, if you were in the same position, okay, and I was talking about this in the previous show, and people are going to hate me for it, but I don't care. Baker Mayfield had the same fucking college season that Bryce Young did in his best year, okay? So if Bryce Young can't put up with the same offensive line and a better wide receiving core, the numbers that Bryce Young, that Baker Mayfield did last year, what do we say then? Are we saying he's a bust?
It's an irrelevant conversation to have, Greg.
It's not irrelevant. It's not irrelevant. It's only irrelevant because you don't want to talk about it. It's not irrelevant.
It's too if and buts.
Yeah, we're not to that
it's
point
too
yet.
far down the road to think about
I'll
that.
talk to y'all week 4 then, because that's because if I can't bring up similar comparisons to show why this could be wrong, and y'all are going to downplay it like it's nothing, then I have no argument.
Well, it's also not
because y'all are just going to ignore everything in the past and
It's
only
not
look for the
the
future.
same
But you also
receivers.
ignore everything in the
Not the
past
same
too, right, Greg?
coaches.
I'm not ignoring everything in the past. I'm
Really? What
looking
about
at
Peyton
stats
Manning?
from players.
His first
Peyton
year
Manning's
in the
first
NFL.
year was garbage.
Exactly. So you
So
can't even
Baker
use
Mayfield
everything
better.
this year and be able to utilize that as a reason to.
And these are
say that
things
Ba-
these
that
are
Bryce
just
Young's a
what
bust.
ifs. It's too hypothetical. Let's talk about what we've seen to this point. The number is 252-228-5098. That's 252-228-5098. Let's talk about the defensive side of the ball. The Panthers moved the ball a little bit better on offense, so we couldn't just always say that it was just the defense being tired. But the first drive, the Giants, on a very rested defense, because it was the first drive of the game, came down and marched right down. And Daniel Jones and the Giants offense looked smooth, but the Panthers looked like they were playing without some players, but no excuses necessary, because the Panthers didn't do anything on defense. It was difficult there. How did the Carolina Panthers get defensively? And this is the place that I was concerned about as a team went into a new scheme. Cody, we have people say there's no pass rush. There's no pass rush. But at the same time, the Giants' game plan was very quick, sharp, executed in a way that is like what if teams can kill us with 1,000 cuts, death by 1,000 cuts? How do we take advantage when Justin Houston, Brian Burns, and those guys are in the game?
Well, you're hoping that their presence does speed things up and that they're getting more of a consistent pass rush when you do add a veteran like Justin Houston, and with our best pass rusher in the form of Brian Burns playing in a position that most fans feel like he's needed to play for a while. My concern with this defense, and it's something that really isn't a surprise, it's that middle level of the defense where our linebacking core is. I think, again, it's just preseason, but Shaq Thompson at times has looked terrible in coverage. He let 2 big passes to Darren Waller today from Daniel Jones. And, I am worried about, you just said death by 1,000 cuts. Well, that's how you would do it, man. That dinking and dunking into the intermediate range of the Panthers defense, that has the tendency to be a problem. Also, if you're not stopping the run on a consistent basis, there were far too many times this week and last week where running backs were able to bounce to the outside and pick up more yards after contact. Also, I don't find that the tackling has been great on defense, other than a few players like Eric Rowe and Von
Whoa. We're not having no Eric Rowe compliments on this show after they threw that big damn bomb of a touchdown where the guy
just looked like he was slow as molasses.
What happened? Oh, my God.
I'm just saying in general, a few players have looked all right tackling, but there have been a bunch of other players that, I mean, they're not wrapping up and performing those form tackles like they should be, and that's also a problem. But the defense more than the offense, I'm choosing to hold off all my hot takes on, because I do feel that the added presence of Brian Burns and Justin Houston is going to do a lot for our defense. I am worried, however, that Dante Jackson limped off the field with another right ankle injury, man. I mean, his question his entire year has been, could he hold up for an entire NFL season after being injured year after year after year? And right now, it's not looking so great for him, being injured in only the second preseason game. Another lower body injury at that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's concerning, especially given, that this is also coming off of an off season where J.C. Horn hurt his own ankle. It's some concerning news to have that come out, because this dude is like made out of paper mache or something below the waist, bro. This dude just has so many injuries with his feet, his ankles, his Achilles. I'm hoping that it's not serious, because obviously we cannot afford to lose him. We don't have the depth to fill in that position at a high level. So that's going to be unfortunate, but yeah, it certainly doesn't help the narrative.
I think the thing that, and Cody, go ahead and cue up the cat calls after I get done with this. The number is 252-228-5098. I think the concerning part about the defense for me is, look, we understood. I've been telling you, I don't know what to think about this 3-4 defense. I've never followed a Panthers team that implemented that. That wasn't just as what Ron Rivera did on the fly that time. I've only played against or seen the Panthers play against them. But what I've seen from this team so far is that I see a defense that really the scary part about it is how important Brian Burns will be to this defense. It's a single player that this is like our entire defensive season. If it can be just okay, like I'm not even saying it's going to be good, but without Brian Burns, this defense can't be good. I don't think it has the anything that can overcome that. And that is, boy, you want to talk about Brian Burns, man, this guy could just go ahead and park the Brinks truck at David Tepper's house. And man, because this team, the entire defensive unit is built on hinges. Any success they have hinges on him, more so than J.C. Horn, more so than any middle linebacker, more so than any safety. We could weather missing Dante Jackson. If Brian Burns sat out the entire season or was injured, the Carolina Panthers could be the worst defense in the NFL. Now, let's go to the cat calls. The number is 252-228-5098. Let's rock.
And Tony, we're definitely going to do it. I wanted to piggyback one thing off what you said. We don't even realize how cool it is that Brian Burns has decided to not hold out.
Like Nick Bosa.
Like Nick Bosa is doing right now, has been there the entire training camp, and is still being a vocal leader of this team, even though he is hands down right now the most important Carolina Panther player on the roster. He's the most proven. He is going to be the highest paid. Like, the fact that he hasn't chosen to hold out, to me, that speaks a lot on him. Let's go into the cat calls. 252-228-5098. Let's do these cat calls.
So what are your thoughts on catcalling?
Yeah, it's pretty. You shouldn't do that to somebody.
And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like.
Who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in his nose? Who's that kid that can use one?
It's Anthony from Charlotte. I know
What's
I
up,
just
man?
saw you guys for like the past 2.5 hours, but just wanted to call in and give my final thoughts. Not much to say, man. Just embarrassing. I know it's just preseason, but man, this offensive line needs to hold up. I know everyone's saying, well, it's just preseason, but I don't know if coaching is going to get these offensive linemen to stop getting their ass on the train. That he needs to be the left guard and Brady needs to be the tackle. Like, I know they want big maulers at tackles, but if you're not nimble enough to move and block, then what's the point of a big ass mauler? Just take the guy like Brady Christensen, who specializes in pass protection, and Ikem Ekwonu, who specializes in run blocking. So there's that. I know Greg's not going to agree with this, but I thought Bryce Young played fine. I mean, there were a couple, the Mingo throw, it looked like Mingo stopped running. He's just not getting enough opportunity, man. The whole team is just playing out of sync, and they just seem to not be, doing anything crazy. It's just very, very vanilla. And what I noticed is that it's like the second half when Thomas Brown is calling all these plays for Matt Corral, he's actually like opening his side of the playbook up for Matt Corral. Like, you see him running a lot of.
Oh, did they cut him off?
Matt Corral's playing fine, but it's like, maybe if like we were running these plays for Bryce Young, more stuff could get open. I mean, he hasn't turned the ball over. I know his stats don't look good, but he really isn't getting enough opportunity. It's a team sport. I still obviously believe in my boy Bryce Young. I just think that in preseason, when your offensive line isn't holding up and you can't run the ball, and you're just expecting a rookie to drive down the field at ease versus first string, it's going to be hard. He's obviously going to get more opportunities when he's a starter, but I'd like to see more receivers get open. I'd like to see the offensive line actually block and run block. I don't think when Bryce Young's been in the game, we've broken off a run more than 5 yards. So it's like
We haven't broken off a pass more than 10 yards.
So. Team sport, but those are all my thoughts. And Scott Fitter, last thing, you're on the hot seat, in my opinion.
That's not even true, Greg.
Charlotte, he motherfucking.
You're right. He had one pass more than 10 yards. What am I saying?
Greg, you got to stop just being upset. You're just upset because you got to be now. Like, we don't even have to talk about that part. What we do need to talk about is Icky at left tackle in his play. We'll start with something more specific when it comes to the offensive line. 2 games into his second season, and Ikem Ekwonu is experiencing a sophomore slump, it appears. Last week, beaten. This week, mentally beaten. Mistakes. Today, I will say this, and I am not with you guys. I think that you guys who are like T. Thompson in the chat who says moving Icky to left guard, but because and Brady Christensen to left tackle will help both the run and the pass games. I think there's a merit to that position. I think there is merit to what Cody has said about how good these guys could be potentially if they were in different positions, but that's just not the case at this point. It's probably, and I think unable to do it this late at this moment. So I'm not crazy at this point to that. I'm not ready for that just yet because tonight's mistakes by Ekwonu appeared more mental than physical. He either was worried from last week when he got beat on the stunt, or you saw this is that he just made the wrong decision tonight. It wasn't that he wasn't fast enough, strong enough, or whatever it may be. So how do the Carolina Panthers, is there a way that the Carolina Panthers, can they deal with Icky not being the left tackle? Like, how would that even, like, how could that, would that actually make the Panthers better? Is that a realistic option? And if you asked Frank Reich, how would you ask him? I think I would say something to the effect of, if Ekwonu was to go down or performed poorly and it was necessary to make a change, who would be that person?
Yeah, well, I mean, I would ask it like this to get more to the point. I would say if Ikem Ekwonu continued to struggle at left tackle as he has in the past 2 games, would there ever be any consideration in swapping Brady Christensen and Ikem Ekwonu in their positions? That's how I would ask. But by the way, I just asked a poll, or I just put up a poll to the YouTube chat. Do you trust Ikem Ekwonu as our left tackle long term? So go ahead and vote on that. Have your voice heard. Tony, I've said this for a long time. Brady Christensen is one of the most athletic left tackle prospects to ever come out of the draft. You don't have to believe me on that. Go back and look at his RAS numbers and what people said about him in the draft. Now, you might say, oh, he was a third-round pick, and that was primarily because he didn't play a lot of great competition at BYU, and they said he had the T-Rex arms, which is not ideal to play the tackle position. However, there has not been a time thus far through his NFL season that he has had to play tackle and looked utterly out of place and out of sorts playing the position. More importantly, most people think that Brady is not strong enough at the point of attack to play left guard. And pretty much everyone unanimously agrees that Ikem Ekwonu has that nasty play strength, that mean physicality that would translate day one right to a Pro Bowl guard, in my opinion. I know a lot of people think I'm insane with this. People think that Anthony and Kevin are insane. It is not insane to me. I don't know if the Panthers would ever really do that, Tony, if they would ever entertain swapping those two players. But, hey, man, maybe I'm insane, but I would have already done so.
Yeah, I don't think it's realistic at this point. Is whether it is or isn't true or could be true. I don't think it can be true this season unless it was due to injury. I mean, I don't see, and I think, again, it's too small of a sample set. I'm fine with Icky. I would argue that the offensive line in many ways look marginally better than last week, maybe. No, a little, I guess. I don't know. I don't even know how to say. CK, I want you to think about this because we're not going to let Greg argue with JJ on this. Think about this as I play this call is where did you see any improvement or did you see any improvement on this team from week 1 to week 2? Here's JJ.
What's up, C3? It's JJ calling in real quick. I'm going to make this just short, sweet, and simple. Greg, get off my quarterback's balls. All right, it is just a preseason.
Let your quarterback do something worth getting me off the balls, and I'll do it.
Greg, stop.
To just completely hop off, get off. All right, let him prove himself. You said till week 4. This shouldn't be a reoccurring theme that you always trying to harp him or all this other bullshit. Nah,
okay.
Always saying some outrageous stuff.
Where did this team look better? We'll start with Greg then. Where did this team look better from week 1 to week 2? Or was there any place that this team as a team looked better from last Saturday?
I would say our defense looked better only simply because they allowed less points.
Okay.
So by that simple fact right there, the defense must have looked better. So I will say that. I don't think any of the players looked any better, to be honest with you. Our offense looked no better. We put up next to nothing until there were no player, until there were 3rd and 4th string players in there playing. We put nothing up. So our defense looked better. That's about it. And not much better, but a little better.
Our 3rd string offense.
Okay.
Technically our offense looked better. We scored 3. If it's just points, then we scored 3 points more in the 1st string offense.
Yeah, but my point being is like, even if you look at that,
who's the guy that threw the touchdown or threw the big play? Was it even? Who's that?
Jake Luton.
Who the hell is that?
Yeah.
He's the guy that we signed right before training.
Back together Sunday or Saturday, yeah.
You know what? Just because Greg is on one tonight, Tony, I am not going to be scared away from talking about Bryce Young. And in fact, my answer is Bryce Young in spite of Greg. And the reason why is I think what was on display with Bryce tonight, and this is what people that were afraid of him being undersized kind of failed to factor in. This dude is elusive. There were a couple plays tonight in which Bryce Young was able to make someone miss like a clown car, man, like a circus act. No one was able to get their hands on him. He was able to keep his eyes upfield and maneuver around that pocket, man. Once these receivers basically understand the art of the scramble drill, and once they know that, hey, if your quarterback is running around back there, you need to adjust your route to get open to give him something downfield. Once our receivers do that, our ability to make plays happen from the outside of the pocket, to me, that says that we have the potential to do a lot of nice things on offense this year. And I do want to credit Bryce for that elusiveness that he does have. And I did see more from him this performance than the last one. So I'm going to say Bryce, in spite of the Lord Bat Daddy and his red lightsaber.
Well, he did have like 10 more yards this game. So yeah, he did do better.
So here is the thing: is I don't care about any of the numbers. I don't care about what if it could have been or would have been. I watched a player who's played his second game in the NFL, who the Carolina Panthers have invested their future in, right? And that is Bryce Young. And I would say that all the things, the reasons that we were told that he would be drafted and should be drafted, I've seen a lot of those to this point. I've seen him with good decision-making. I've seen him at the very minimum not make poor decisions in bad circumstances, right? If you look at this, is that while I am a fan, I think Anthony Richardson has looked very good in this offseason. I was high on him anyway. I was excited about that. I have a type. He falls into that type. I saw him make his very first play of his first NFL preseason game be a pick, and it was poor mechanics. There was a lot of things, but you know what? I wouldn't even hang up on him at this. I am one of the few people that said he had a good preseason debut in so many ways, but under pressure, Bryce Young hasn't fumbled the ball. He hasn't thrown picks. He hasn't made poor decisions. Yeah. And certainly could we want the whole team and we want the points to look better and this and that. I have no concerns. Zero. I have zero concerns about Bryce Young as the Panthers right now. There are no red flags for me. There are no red flags. Now, at the same time, there are a lot of red flags about this team as a whole that continue to be hard to ignore. And that's the thing is whether or not it's the preseason. It's just the preseason. It's like, look, we're going to cheer for this team. We're going to do the post game every game after this, probably. And what we're really realizing is that this team, our hopes, our expectations, we were on cloud 9. They were too high. We felt like the Tampa Bay Bucks did for the last 10 years before they got Tom Brady. They were always hype in May, June, and July, and then they were never hype during the season. So I hope that that's not what we fall prey to. JJ, who's on the phone, who just was on the phone, I thought made a good point in the Friday free-for-all, is that we look like a team that retooled every single thing in one offseason. And you retooled the coaching staff, you retooled the roster, you retooled the schemes, you retooled everything, right? There is very little, if anything, that is the same from last year on this team, even the players who were on this team. You can't even say, look, Jeremy Chin ain't doing the same thing. None of this. So there are some bumps in the road, and we can expect that. The problem that this is just sad to me is that with the players that we have, that we're not just a little bit better at that point, and we haven't performed better. I'm not ready to throw out the season. I'm not ready to do any of that. It's just like, dang, it's like, imagine if you had a scrimmage game and you were your kid's coach of your kid's scrimmage game. Do you really want to get blown? I felt like this team, they wanted to win. They wanted to look better in this game, and they didn't. And that's concerning. Frank Reich throughout the week has looked concerned about the state of the offensive line. When they asked him about the injuries, right? You got Cade Mays who was hurt. So I think these guys are trying to figure it out, and they're running into injury and problems and this and that. I don't think Frank Reich looked very happy about today's performance. And what should he be? No, he shouldn't. There, I think, is authentic and genuine concern about the current preparedness of this team.
Yeah, but Tony, again, I have a problem with that too. I mean, like I said to Greg earlier, we have now heard from 3 people, and Bryce Young said explicitly in his press conference that they did no specific preparation for the Giants defense.
No, but
now,
I mean like preparedness of technique, a preparedness of mind, not prepared schematically against your opponent. I mean, this is that if you just didn't look as polished on your own end as you should have.
Right.
Yeah, and that's
Cody.
that's
75% of your plays, like I said, are the same for every damn team. So if you're in the preseason, you don't need to prep for a team. You can run 75% of your plays, outs, post routes, everything. You can run 75% of your plays and be the exact same as every team and not show anything. That is a bullshit excuse to me. From a coach.
I mean, it's really not. I mean, it's really not though. I mean, if you're again, you're considering a vanilla offense and a vanilla defense, but you're also talking about what goes into an offensive meeting when they are making up the game plan of attack before they go into the game. Part of their technique depends on the plays that they intend to be running. They are preparing for those specific game plan plays. They didn't do any of that last week or this week. So again, like
that's overcomplicating it to me, though. That's over, and I don't think this is poor. Like at this point, what you're saying is, and I agree with you in some ways, is like right now it's hard to evaluate the coaching from one component, and that angle, that component is their preparation and what they can give you from a week to week basis. But right now the concerns are have we come out of this camp as strong with the group of guys, no matter how deficient they are in talent or problems and obstacle? Right now, the Panthers, they have a ton of improving to do, and it's not just in one place. It's not just one place. CK, if there is one place they need to improve most, I don't know if it's so hard for me to pick it out at this point. I thought last week it was so easy just to say the offensive line, just the offensive line. I just don't know how on either side. What do you think is the most? I mean, it's got to just be the trenches. Maybe it's just trenches on both sides.
I mean, I think trenches are one thing, but honestly, I think we're giving our secondary a bit of a break by saying that. Like the secondary wasn't that the trenches weren't getting pressure. They weren't, but that's also because they were getting the ball out extremely fast.
Right.
In that first drive with Daniel Jones. Right. So I don't even, I almost want to put the secondary on blast here because it did feel like they were just they weren't really giving any type of a break whatsoever to or
playing real soft coverage. Everything
they were zone. They were zone pretty much every single play. And that's where I think, Greg, I understand your point, but I also believe that you might be a bit wrong on this too, because every team agrees that they do vanilla things in the preseason, right? There are things that they do that are
75% of your playbook.
It's not though. It's
everybody has. Everybody has the same 75% of plays. Everybody
have a similar set of plays, but the blocking scheme and actually everything else, like if you look at what goes into play making, is not the same thing, Greg.
It's the exact same thing.
Well, I think that we could say this. Could agree.
75% of plays are the exact same thing.
What if we just agree on this?
Is that or something?
Where 85% of all stats are made up.
Or no, we could just say this is at the very end of the day, the Giants aren't prepared for us.
Right.
If that's the case. And here I do want to highlight Ty Lamar's comment. I like this a lot. He says, what happens when we throw in game plan week 1 and we aren't ready because we haven't been implementing the necessary fundamentals in the preseason? And I thought kind of about this when it came to what are you trying to accomplish? And this is a very difficult question, is what is the goal of the preseason truly to accomplish and to learn? Because in one hand, Cody, I think in so many ways, and we are of that same cloth, is like, I don't even want to start my starters because I don't want the season ruined by injury for something like, so I can see how that is a valuable thing. On the other hand, you can also see how people it's valuable to get the rust off, get the kinks out, hey, look, it's not like it's clicking right now either, right? So, I mean, like, is that could help you become a stronger team. When Frank Wright said we didn't prepare for them at first, I was like, are we wasting an opportunity as a team and a coaching staff to practice game preparation? Right? Like, I was like, but on the other hand, is that if you did prepare and spent that time with your starters and you are allocating all your coaching attention to the players who probably least need it at that moment or at this point of the season. So right now, I want to ask you in light of his comment, what do the Panthers really want to learn in this preseason, regardless of the outcomes? I mean, we all want it to look better. We all want the Panthers smoking everybody. We want Bryce Young throwing 4 touchdowns. We want guys sacking everywhere. Hey, I think we got to give some kudos to Amari Barno. But what is the goal of this new coaching staff, or not the goal in general? Maybe that's too philosophical. What do you want them to learn or do in the next week before we play? Who do we finish with?
The Lions.
And don't we always, what happened to playing the Steelers every year? I guess we don't do that anymore.
Or the Patriots every year, too.
So what does this team, what do they want to do, learn, and accomplish? We'll take one more call after you quickly, all three of, or anybody who wants to answer that. We don't have to do everybody.
Yeah, no, I'll go real quick. I'll just say tackling form, tackle, wrap up. There is no reason for a running back to be hit by one of our linebackers or one of our safeties, only for their running back to bounce off them and get more yards after contact. Wrap them up the first time you hit them. That's fundamental football. And whenever we don't play fundamental football, nothing pisses me off more, man.
All right. The number is 252-228-5098. I like what Jay Thomas said. Isn't it the most important part of the preseason? Finding out who you're cutting, who you're keeping, who is on the bubble. The problem is the bubble looks really big at this point.
I would never play any of I don't care how much fans bitched and moaned. I would never play the starters. I would use all 4 of those quarters to determine my depth going into the season so that my coaches and front office can make the proper evaluation, and we're also not putting our player in harm's way. That's what I would do.
I would almost hire an entirely secondary staff to just take the starters off and do like paper workshops with them. And then you only work with all the other people and you kind of come and supervise it. Let's go to the next call.
What's up, C3? It's Levi, aka Raleigh Panther, calling in tonight. Man, I got a good laugh out of Tony's comment about Brian Burns backing up the Brinks truck, because you're right, man. I mean, he's played his cards perfectly up until this point. You know, he's shut up the practices and been a leader and hasn't made a fuss about it. But I mean, he's obviously shown that he's got all the leverage in the situation, and you know, he's about to sign big for sure. But I think the silver lining in it, even after the weak performance without him tonight, is that I think he and Derek Brown are uniquely players that kind of elevate the people around him. I mean, you know, they carry a lot of responsibility being the star players there, but I think that their play will elevate and amplify the players around them. So what you guys think on that? Thanks for everything you guys do, man. See you.
Appreciate it, brother.
Great point about how your star players make other players great around you, right? So we are seeing we're making a meal without the best ingredients. We're saving back the filet mignon. We're holding back these things at this point, right? We're practicing cooking at this point. You know, I don't know. I'm not ready to say that the defensive front is entirely problematic at this point. We saw some good things out of Amari Barno. 2 consecutive plays. Let's talk about that for a moment. 2 great plays, I thought. And none of them are going to be recorded as good plays. The first play, Amari Barno zings past the left tackle, tackles the quarterback, and as he goes to sling or tackle him, the quarterback's knee doesn't touch the ground, and then he gets up and runs. And to me, this is a problem because you are creating a culture where he can't tackle. Now he's also giving up play. CK, you said they should have blown that play dead. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, if he's not able to just level that quarterback and he's just trying to get him like softly to the ground, like that dude was dead. Like that play was done. Like
It's
that was he let go of him.
in the practices. You know, when we saw Quentin Williams or whatever get 10 sacks and he would do this, they called sack. At that point, that guy, if he wanted to, he could have killed him.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that it's an interesting thing. I mean, it's kind of like the double-edged sword. That's what sucks about being a defensive player nowadays is like it's so much because I mean the way the game is that they want these high-powered offenses, which makes sense. I think we all agree that the game is better when you have offenses that are play at a high level. It's just it's one of those things where that could be the defining moment of a game, and because that defensive player has got an unfair disadvantage, that could be the difference between a game going your way or not, which I find to be interesting.
The following play, he was called for a late hit on the quarterback.
Exactly, right. And it was the most BS, by the way. Like they played that back, and it was he didn't hit his head. He didn't lead with his helmet. Like it was the most ridiculous penalty.
He's
that was
damned
the
if he does, damned if he doesn't.
Oh,
in that case, but
that's a prime example.
Cody, Mari Barno, I think has been memorable through 2 games. Right. One of my favorite players on this defense is Frankie Louvu. And he makes some big like plays that I remember that are emotional, that, you know, hard hit, like the ones you get up and you're like, yeah, you know. But he's also made 2 mistakes a mistake in each game too this week. Last week there was one on a run play out to not a dump off pass that I think the coverage would have gone to him. Some people were saying he was part of the problem on that touchdown where CJ Henderson looked like an idiot or whatever, and that it wasn't. Either way, while Frankie Louvu has made some memorable plays, he's also made some memorable mistakes. Amari Barno, he's been the only guy that's gotten to the quarterback on this defense. And you guys say, you know who hasn't been memorable? YGM.
YGM, but also White Chocolate even donated to say this, and I've seen other people say this too. DJ Johnson has been our second best rookie. Are we watching the same game? Like, am I
made
the
a
only
good play behind the line of scrimmage, I think, last week down at the goal line.
Maybe I missed it. Maybe I'm doing too much with the podcast and like missing some of it. But I feel like I haven't seen much of DJ Johnson at all. But to your point, Tony, yeah, I've been very impressed with Amari Barno. And people forget that he had 2 sacks last year at the end of the season. Like, the guy is one of the fastest defensive end outside linebacker prospects to ever run the 40 time at the combine. I think he ran like a high 4.3. The dude has that upper end athleticism that really is perfect for a 3-4 outside linebacker. I even like his number. Isn't it number 91? Like 90 or 91?
90.
Yeah,
90. He's got Pepper's
that's a great number. That's a great number. I would not mind that at all if Brian Burns and Amari Barno ended up being a nice little 1-2 punch at outside linebacker.
Man, the Panthers, I'll tell you this, is I hope that this has been a tough start for the Carolina Panthers and for me as in the year of 20C3. Not too good kickoffs when it comes to the preseason, when it comes to excitement level and optimism going forward. I do feel optimistic about our little tiny quarterback because he has, I think, displayed a lot of things that I was hoping to see and a lot of things that I was worried to see haven't happened. So I'm good about that. The number's 252-228-5098. Let's go to Joey, the Blind Panther.
Hey guys, it's the growl that makes them howl, aka Joey the Blind Panther. Didn't know y'all were having a post game because you didn't have one last week. So Didn't know y'all were having one, and I saw y'all were having one, and y'all were already the cat calls. I hope y'all get to mine, but I'm happy we didn't look like shit all game.
No.
I mean,
only watched the second half.
First half was kind of bad, and we was kind of more of the same. Our offensive line was getting worked early on. Bryce Young was just dinking and dunking, which, I understand, You're not going to get Bryce Young hurt in the damn preseason.
Well,
I was not pass getting him hurt.
Cody played like a baller today in the preseason. Okay? Got us in it was 21-19. It could have been 21-3. We could have been talking about another beatdown. Work a fucking day. I'm tired of shit. But, yeah, I think we did great. I think we got what we wanted out of this game, which is progress. You can't complain about that. Anyway, guys.
There it is.
Let me see. I got some. What is today? No, that's from July. Let's see. Somebody text me. Is today? What is today? No, this is older. Some people are I'm seeing text. That's number is 252-228-59. That's the last call we got in the hole right now. So if you want to get in, you better get in now because really, I don't know how much more we're going to flog this horse tonight at this point. I didn't see. Did Hayden Hurst have a false start tonight? Was that 2 weeks in a row?
He had a false start.
He also had a third down.
He also had that pass called back because of the holding.
Yeah, you put that. I mean, I know these are all ifs, woulds, shoulds, could'ves, but like, that holding call doesn't happen there. You're in, striking distance, and that changes a lot of things about how the defense, if they get more time, if you get points on the board. So these are all ifs, buts, and whats. I think right now the question continues to go back is, are the horses we have in the stable strong enough horses to really run down the stretch? And right now, and I know every team in the league faces this, is that your entire season is so dependent on the healthiness of their starting group of people that are so important. But the fact of the matter is that NFL seasons that incur injury, and every season, every team who does well either has like one of those years where it just seems like everybody stays healthy, like the Carolina Panthers were in 2015 for the most part, right down to the wire. It felt like maybe one injury that brought in somebody that was actually better in Jared Allen. But that also the teams that you're going to face that no matter what. And so it is finding ways to overcome those challenges and those adversities. And right now, look, none of these games matter and the score, but what they do matter is what they tell us about the Carolina Panthers. And right now, what we talked about is there was a real concern on this offensive line, because not only are people sitting here talking about should Icky be guard or left tackle, blah, 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 which I think is, again, like a little too late and too far at the same time for this team, is that where there's a real issue when it comes to the depth of this offensive line. Because if Icky doesn't work out, if Brady Christensen doesn't play well, if Bozeman doesn't play well, we already got this giant hole at right guard that's very difficult to fill at this point. Let's talk about Zavala. Did he? He did have a penalty. I think he was the hold. Was he the hold on the Hayden Hurst play?
Zavala was the hold on that.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's first game experience for that rookie who is a fourth round pick, fifth, sixth, somewhere in there. Arguably, I would say other than that I can't remember him just looking out of his league. So maybe that's a good thing is Zavala came to play.
Yeah, we didn't see I don't think our offensive line took a step backwards, which I think is a positive. I think it took a step forward. I think that it wasn't a massive one. So there's still hope to be guarded from that. So yeah, I mean, I think Zavala stepping in there could be a piece to why this might be solidified. And even that Icky play, like, I mean, I know we're shitting on Icky between his production from last month and or last week and this week, but like a lot of the things that are happening with him are going to be fixable. Like
I agree with that 100.
Yeah, those are fixable.
I'm not panicking on Icky at his position. Yeah. That's not what I'm worried about. Is at this point, because the mistakes I saw today from Icky were mental.
Yeah.
And they weren't what many people have concerns is the problem that he's just not suited to be to do well in pass protection, and that he's really just this great mauler, and you're almost missing the opportunity for him to be that mauler. I don't think that that's where we're at or even really that close, but I think there is merit to what Cody and them have talked about in those positional strengths right there. The Carolina Panthers fall in their second preseason game. It's the C3 Panthers Post Game show. We appreciate you guys tuning in and hanging out with us. The number's 252-228-5098. Just a few minutes left to get your calls in. We appreciate your time, your support. The number's, well, I already said that. Please smash the thumbs up button. Subscribe. Consider being a C3 super fan. For just $1.99 a month, you can continue to help us grow the longest running Panthers podcast. But the easiest way to help us grow that costs no money is to share the show. Put it on Facebook. Put it on X.com, formerly known as Twitter. Put it on Reddit or wherever you hang out and talk the Panthers. Tell a friend. Be a friend. Tell a friend. Phone a friend. Cody, I don't really have a ton much more to say about this team at this point. I guess there's one preseason game left. And then how many weeks we have next week is a game. Is there an off week after that and then we play? I don't think we play before Labor Day, right? Or Memorial Day, whatever it is, Memorial Day, right? Which one's coming up?
The game that I'm going to is on the 19th. That's the second game, so I'm assuming 8 days prior will be the 11th. So I believe September 11th. Yeah, that's our first game of the season. So I'm not sure entirely how much time that is, but hey, football is around the corner, damn it. Eventually, we're going to be able to stop arguing about whether or not it's preseason, mishaps, or if this is something to genuinely be concerned about. Football is right around the corner. I'm pumped. I hope everyone else is pumped. Tonight, we got back up to 185 viewers. Man, we appreciate having y'all back, man. Panther season is back in full force, man. We love having y'all. And
we got
that's
Kev.
about it for me, man.
Kev called in. Let's get my bastard son.
Yo, it's White Chocolate.
Do we have to?
Listen, I'm going to defend Greg here, the bad daddy. You got to look at it this way, man. We traded a lot to get him. DJ Moore, some first-round picks. We traded up to get this dude. And he has not done anything spectacular. He's not done anything out of the ordinary of a normal starting quarterback. To me, I think Matt Corral has actually played better in the preseason than Bryce Young has. So yeah, I mean, I'm not on that level of, I still think I still have hope for him week one. I still think he's going to go out there and do his shit week one. I think he's going to be great. I think he's going to have a really great rookie year. I don't think he's going to set records his rookie year, but I think he's going to have a really great rookie year. As far as Mingo goes, I mean, I've heard the hype that he's going to come out, he's going to ball, but right now he's competing with wide receiver 3, which is an early second-round pick. And I have a kind of a problem with that because Cam Smith was right there for us to take, and he's been balling out for the Dolphins. The cornerback, he has been balling, and that's something we desperately need. He is a dog, and like Dante, I don't think he's hurt that bad, but he is hurt. And the other corners on the team, I don't really trust besides Horn. So I'm hoping to see more of Mingo. I'm not saying I hate your pick. I just want to see more, and I haven't really seen anything. Same with Bryce Young.
He had a good play today. He had one good play.
I still think we should find somebody defensive end. I don't trust anybody on defense or line, but besides Burns and Brown, that's it. But those are my thoughts. Second preseason game, nothing to worry about. Well, there's something to worry about, but freak out. Wait till week 1 to freak out. Those are my thoughts. Peace.
I love this comment from Kristen Ledane. Excuse me, I almost said Delane. Kristen Ledane says there are inconsistencies in all areas on our team, and with new coaches, I'm not surprised. Just going to stay positive and patient. Keep pounding. It's right now we have no choice but to be patient and to recognize too that the hype that a lot of this has been created by us. Right, is that if you think about this, and this is where I think, and this is kind of the handicap of Greg's position in many ways, is Greg's fundamental argument is that we oversold somebody to him.
Nah.
And that it's been underwhelming. And that I think what many ways is like us, so many people confidently were like 10 games, 11 games, but and this is the season for that, right? It is the season for you to be optimistic, positive. If you are going to go 17-0, it starts with the fans on day 1 of the draft or whatever, right? But is the reality is that the NFL is difficult. The Carolina Panthers have a completely no coaching staff and are going to be different. And this, while we hope that the ascendancy to success is swift, is that it will not come without challenge and adversity. And that's just going to be part of it, is that we come out the gate and we look great, or whether we are terrible, whether this is a slow burn, is there will be challenges, there'll be bumps and bruises, there'll be successes, and there will be failures along the way. That's just a reality. I have been underwhelmed. I think I've been listening to y'all too much. But I actually don't think that we're this bad. I think if we play this bad during the regular season, I'll be remarkably disappointed. Yeah. I'll just be like this. I don't care about what player, what anything is. I think if the Panthers, I promise you, is that if the Panthers win 5 games, I will be remarkably disappointed this year.
Absolutely.
Not just disappointed,
I agree.
Remarkably disappointed. And that's coming from a guy who will be okay with 7. I think we can find a future with 7 wins. I think we could find a future with 8 wins. I think we can find, and look, if we get to 9 wins, I think I'm going to be like, hey, that's great. Now, if we get above 10 or something, I'll be like, yeah, you're going to watch me on this podcast be the biggest whatever in the whole history of the world. At the same time, though, is I think there's a big difference for this team between 5 wins and 7 wins and 9 wins. Those are like monumentally different seasons to me.
Yeah. By the way, Eric with the $5 love bomb donated just to say, I don't agree with Greg entirely, but people need to stop getting offended when he gives his opinion. That's just the way he feels. So,
and can I add to that? Because I agree. Look, don't be the kind of people that if your opinion is not challenged, you automatically assume somebody's an asshole or wrong. Okay, I just had somebody here tell me that, well, you can't judge this because it's only based off of 2 games and we don't know what's going on yet. And it's like, well, okay, but based on that,
you have been remarkably pessimistic, dude.
How could somebody tell me that I can't say I'm pessimistic after 2 games, but you can be optimistic? There's no way.
No, I don't even know if they were.
There's no way you can look at the stats and the final score of the games.
Greg, with your heart of hearts,
optimistic after 2 weeks, and I can't be pessimistic.
Look into my eyes. Look into my eyes right now. You're off my camera a little bit. You're hanging off the edge there.
There we go.
You can't say. Can you truly look me in the eyes and say that you haven't leaned into this position?
Of course I have.
Okay.
Yeah, of course I have. Because
you are leaning in, bro.
Because people are fighting about it. But here's the thing.
But you're
Tony.
leaning in at every possible moment.
Tony, can you look at me and tell me that after 2 games of 9 completions of 58 yards, that I can say that I can't say that looks bad, but you can say that looks good? Like,
You
can you
can't-
really tell me that? Like, can you not say you're not leaning into that? Because there's no way you can fairly make that argument and be correct. I'm not
Kev is
totally
right.
wrong.
He said, "I blame
I'm not
G
saying
Baby
he's
for
not.
all
I'm
of
not
this."
saying he's
So
terrible.
right.
Well, hey,
Okay?
also, what
So
do
there's
we
no way
always
you can say that after 4 games, after 4 drives or whatever he's had, that you're a believer, and I can't say I'm not a believer.
Nobody-
based on the fact
can
the
say
stats
whatever you
show
want.
he's not a good
Also,
guy.
I
know?
do want to say this. One of the things that we pride ourselves with over here at C3
It's
is
different.
we don't tell anyone how to be a fan. We've had
That is
G Baby,
important,
we've had G Baby and C Dog and so many people that have come up here and they're like, blah, he's an undercover Falcons fan and blah blah blah. Whatever, dude. We don't tell people what opinions they need to hold about the Panthers. So, and by the way, I think that's why you should continue to come back to the C3 Panthers podcast, baby, because this is not just an echo chamber. I don't always agree with CK. CK doesn't always agree with me. Tony doesn't always agree with Greg. Greg doesn't always agree with Tony. That's what it is being a fan, man. We're here to have that dialogue, have that back and forth. And hey, time is going to tell. Either Greg is going to be able to gloat over absolutely everyone, or they're going to come for that ass, Greg. So
Or
whatever happens,
we're all
just
going to be
is.
sad at that point. We're all going to be sad. And right now, to me, and again, I want to reiterate this because I know that we don't tell people. I want to tell people how I'm fanning about this team, about Bryce Young right now. So if everybody gets to fan the way they want to fan, this guy right here, the way he's fanning is that he's the last on my list of issues with the Carolina Panthers right now. He's at the very single bottom person of the list. Number one, because he is going to be the guy, period. Number two, he's displayed the traits and the attributes and the characteristics that can win to me in the NFL. I think this is that there's just 99 problems, but Bryce Young ain't one. And when it comes to, I mean, we're at this point, it's week 2 of the preseason, and we're talking about the coaching staff. Man, we're already talking about the GM, dude. It's week 2 of the preseason, and people are literally legitimately too fanning against the damn GM. So you know what I'm saying? Like, is I got 99 problems with the Panthers, and Bryce Young ain't one.
Same.
Look, those are all the calls, and we got one more super chat to read.
Do it. I missed one.
All right.
Oh,
Because
yeah,
this is from the real AP, because this is the dopest podcast. Thank you. It's been boy, you know what? We put a lot of emotion into this. We invest a lot emotionally into this podcast.
Tonight, yes.
You should have seen it for the 3 hours during the game. What that shit was like. Because this is the dopest podcast and I can afford it again. Laugh out loud, keep pounding. Thank you, the real AP, for your support of the podcast. You guys are fantastic. You can call into the show. We're going to be here. When's next meeting? Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Longest running Panthers podcast. I'm going to lock us down a good guest for this week to try to bring us some professional insight other than us just burning down the house beside each other. Man, we're all going to be out there with the damn matches and the gasoline and the shit like that. No, there's a long season ahead of us, and we have faced challenge and adversity in this moment. We appreciate that support. We appreciate that time. And you guys, we were here during the watch along. We're going to do this next week too, I hope. It's been a shitty start. And it's been much like the plumbing in my house at this moment. And after I get done with this podcast, I'm going to have to go sleep at my in-laws' house because I can't take a shower. I can't flush the toilet at the house right now. It's literally shitty. So thank you, the real AP. That the $3.50 or $3 that we get from YouTube is really going to help. Hopefully, I'm going to actually have to borrow money from somebody. I'm going to be calling CK up. Smash the thumbs up button. Cody, you guys, everything. You want to say anything? Where you want to be at? What you want to be about? This is your moment. Get us out of here.
No, man, just hit me up. Cody Lack, CODY LAC. Hey, man, we've got content coming for y'all. Hit that join button because the film room coming back. C3 Madden simulation.
Well, we should do it tomorrow. We should get up here and watch that shit tomorrow. Anyway,
down.
I'll mess.
Get me up. Yeah, and the Madden simulation is coming back, and all of those are going to release a day early for all of the people that join for $1.99 a month. It gives us a little bit of incentive and gives you guys a reason to keep on coming back and supporting the pod. Gentlemen, we love y'all. To everyone in the chat, everyone on the pod. My name is Cody Lashley. That's the professor, Tony Dunn, the starter of all this. CK, the voice that makes them moist. You know him, you love him. Cody Dizzle Allen. And the wet blanket himself, the stat daddy, the bat daddy, the best beard in all of Panther football, my man Greg. We'll be back this Tuesday night at 9 for another edition of the C3 Panthers podcast. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, keep pounding.